Alright, hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm filming a wrap-up for both December and January. I mushed them together these 2 months because I was going to be away for like 3 weeks, I think it was, right in between, the holidays, basically right in between December and January. So I didn't have time to film a wrap-up or a TBR separately. So let's get into it and tell you what I read. The first thing I read was In Cold Blood by Truman Capote. This book was really interesting. It's about Clutter family murder. It was kind of crazy. I don't want to give anything away. I always struggle with how much I can tell you guys without giving it away, but it's basically Truman Capote went and told the story of the murder, and it was very much random type of murder, and it's a really interesting read because it reads like a reenactment kind of. It was really interesting and a very original type of read, at least for me, from what I've read. So yeah, I definitely recommend. It was a good one. Okay, the next one I read was Tom Hanks' The Uncommon Type, and it was on Audible. This is a compilation of short stories that Tom Hanks read, and the Audible version he actually narrates as well. And they were really cute stories, very interesting. December for me was right after finals, and I was not wanting to do any reading at all, at all. It was because I've been staring at a screen forever, with essays and reading, and no. I didn't want to do anything, and then I went straight to visit with my family for holiday vacation, so it was mainly audiobook for me. And with this, I really enjoyed it. It was really interesting. I think he did a fair job with narrating it, and the stories are really very quaint stories and very diverse, for the most part, diverse stories. Yeah, they were cute. They definitely had a common theme running through them, and it was just good. It was just nice and relaxing and not too intense, especially after reading In Cold Blood. The next one I listened to on Audible was A Christmas Carol, and it was narrated by Tim Curry. Obviously, I had to pick that up because it was around Christmas time. I've never actually read the book or listened to the book. I've seen the movies plenty of times. I wanted to get into the spirit that way, so I read that, and it was good, and Tim Curry did, of course, an amazing job. And that was it for what I read in January. Like I said, I was not, I was just out of the craziness and the stressfulness of finals and then into visiting with my family. So yeah, it was a light read for sure that month. And then the next thing I read was Cormac McCarthy's The Road. I really enjoyed this, and I was not expecting to enjoy it. I was not expecting that sounds bad. I was not expecting to enjoy it as much as I did. It's kind of a simple story, and it's definitely a dystopian story, after the world ends sort of thing. But it's got a new take on it. I don't necessarily love, from what I've read, a lot of dystopian stories, but this is about a father and a son. They actually don't have names, it's just the boy and the man. Yeah, it definitely has a interesting take on, raising a child up in a world that's very survival sort of world, and you don't know who you can trust and all that sort of thing, and looking at who's good and bad and what good and bad and good and evil actually means. It was just a really easy read, really easy to get through. It was just quick and enjoyable. I really liked it. Okay, the next one I read was The Nest by Cynthia D'Aprix Sweeney. I enjoyed it. I read it really quickly, but okay, so it's about a family, and there's I think 5 siblings that are going into a certain stage in their life where they're about to inherit some money, and then something came up and they're not getting as much as they thought they were getting from the inheritance. So that aspect I don't like. Personally, that feels very cold, but the people in here, as you start reading, it's interesting, and easy to read because the people in here are very warm. However, there's so many different perspectives in here that, like, you get the 5 siblings, and then within those 5 siblings, they have their, you know, kids and significant others and neighbors' perspective, which is really, it's interesting and cool, and I liked, like, everyone's perspective for the most part. But there's just a lot to get to. It's only 347 pages, and some of the characters felt like caricatures because they're just, like, they weren't fleshed out. There just wasn't enough time to flesh them out either. I would have liked to stick with a couple more characters and learn a little bit more about an individual character versus trying to fit in 7 or 8 different people's, you know, views in such a short book. I don't know. There were problems with it, but it was still enjoyable. So, I mean, I recommend if you're just wanting something light and quick. Okay, the next one I finished, finally, Ron Chernow, Alexander Hamilton. I have been reading this, I think, since September, October. I really liked this. I definitely tried, whenever I started this, I was trying to, like, really speed through it, and you can't speed through it. I keep, like, trying to review it before I tell you what it is. Okay, this is the biography of Alexander Hamilton, and it was the book that inspired Lin-Manuel Miranda to write the play Hamilton. Yeah, it was really good, and it was really interesting to see because I know, I haven't seen the play, but I've obviously listened to the soundtrack, like, I don't know, at least 1 million times, give or take. But it was interesting to see what Lin-Manuel put into the play and what he didn't. But also, this man's life is crazy intense. This book is so heavy. That was, like, part of the reason why it took so long. Sometimes I just didn't want to hold it. This man's life was crazy intense. He did so much, and this book itself is really, really interesting, especially because for me, I'm not super knowledgeable about the early American government, but this book still gave me a lot of information. It wasn't just Alexander Hamilton. I mean, it was, but, like, it also gave you what Thomas Jefferson was doing and blah blah blah, because a lot of what Alexander Hamilton did was in response to all these different founding fathers as well. So yeah, that was really cool, and it was really well written. Definitely not one to speed through like lightning, but still really good. The last book I read is Leaves of Grass by Walt Whitman. This little edition is really interesting too. If you guys don't know, Walt Whitman is like the first American poet to use free verse and really make a statement with it. And yeah, this edition is really interesting too because it actually has little pages for you to like write in like your thoughts. It's the one edited by Laura Ross if you're interested. I mean, it's classic. I definitely recommend anyone to read it. Alright you guys, that's it for everything that I read in December and January. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. Have a good day. Bye.